Hi and welcome to your Pest Control industry account. It's great to have you on board. This video is showing you how you can customize your account to suit your individual business. So that's your company information, your bank details, as well as showing you how all of the features that have already been built into your account work. It's 10 easy steps. Really simple to get this up and running, to use it out in the field and day to day as quickly as possible. Let's get started. The first step in setting up your account is to update your company settings. Some of this information is populated from your trial account activation, but you can also change anything here as well. So in your settings cog in the top right hand corner of the portal, you'll then have company profile tab. The company profile includes being able to update your company details as well as your logo and color, and being able to access your Formitize invoices and your payment details as needed. Invoice settings allows you to set information that's going to populate on your invoices, as well as the settings in regards to how your invoices will be sent to your accounting package, for example, as well as being able to set up automatic reminders for outstanding invoices. So in the settings cog in the top right hand corner, we have the account settings and then down to invoice settings. Here we'll be able to add in your payment terms and conditions, as well as your bank details. We can also use placeholders to be able to populate information in relation to the payment that you're looking to get the customer to make. So if they're going to make a payment into your bank account, for example, you can ensure that they're putting a reference number by reiterating what the invoice number is right here in the payment details. So we're just going to add an example for you. And here we can indicate to please use and control space to bring in the invoice number. You can add any other terms and conditions that you wanted to add in here, as well as being able to add a document resource from your Formitize account in as an attachment to the invoices that you're sending out to the customer. There is also option to be able to add links to this content. So if you wanted to encourage the customer to leave a Google review on your account, you can do that here as well. Your currency is set by the country in which you set up your account. Your invoice status. So this is about when invoices are converted from a draft invoice, so something that would potentially happen, into an open invoice. So an open invoice would be that you've completed the job and now it is payable. So quite often clients would have the job convert from a draft invoice to an open invoice when the job has been completed. So that means that the job's completed, so the payment is now applicable, whereas in a draft scenario and the job's not completed, the job may change the date, for example, so then the invoice is not payable until the job is completed. There are some options in the integration side of your invoices and what information and at what time will go to your accounting package. So this is totally up to you. The salesperson is by default set as hide. You can choose to show the salesperson. This is coming from your job information. So if you're using that as a process or a commission type scenario or reference point, you can choose to have the salesperson visible. You also have options for invoice defaults as well as PDF options. So showing item codes in your invoice, including a remittance payment section at the bottom of the invoice if a customer was, for example, to send a check back to you. If you don't accept checks, then you can also remove that as a feature. Your job number and location can be the first line of the invoice PDF. So if you're attaching your invoices to your jobs, that's a nice and easy reference point for your customer to know exactly what it's for, especially when you're looking at jobs that are real estate, for example. You can show the individual line item prices in the PDF, or you can choose just to show a total of the individual items. Your numbering options can pull from your accounting package numbers if you're integrating your draft invoices with your accounting package. If you're not, then you can just start from a rolling number. Your default invoice payment terms are set here, as well as being able to update individual customer payment terms. So you can set what their payment terms are, but by default, typically most of your clients would be whatever you indicate here. The invoice email is customizable, so it again is using placeholder information by pressing Control Space, but you can change this content as you see fit for your business. I mentioned earlier about the email attachments, so you can add resources such as terms and conditions or brochures that you would like to have sent with all of the invoices that are sent out to your customers, and you can attach those here. Smart Assist allows you to send outstanding invoice reminders to your customers. In most instances, you would choose to have these reminders go out only once the invoice is open. The functionality of this content is very much the same as our job type communication. So you can trigger multiple methods of communication, and whether or not they be email, SMS, creating a PDF letter, or an internal task to your team, and triggering at different points to be the reminder. So for example, you may have an email go to the billing name, 7 days after the invoice is due. You might also have another email that goes to them 14 days after, and your content for each of those communications can differ. So as it becomes more and more overdue, your content may become more firm, or you may choose to have a trigger to set yourself an internal task so that you're going to follow up on those outstanding invoices, remembering that you could have various reminders at different points of an overdue invoice, and only if an invoice is not marked as paid by the time it gets to that trigger point would that communication be sent. Quote settings, quite similar to the invoice settings. So in the top right hand corner, settings cog, down to accounts, and then quotes, we have the ability to set your numbering as well as a default title to be added to your quotes, which can be changed on each individual quote. Terms and conditions to be added by default. When you do create a quote, you can actually add one-off notes. So specifically for that quote, you can have your own set of notes in relation to that, as well as having a set summary. Your quote email works in the same way that the email for invoices works, so you can change all of this content and use the placeholders that are relating to quote information. Resources, again, the same as your invoice information, to be able to add your own brochures and or terms and conditions into your quote email, as well as setting a default quote expiry. Each individual quote can be updated to have its own expiry date and timeframes. Your quote PDF options, again, can choose whether or not you want to show item codes as well as individual pricing for the quote, or if you just wanted to have a total price. Quote Assistant works in the same way as your Invoice Assistant. So again, your multiple triggers of communication, and whether or not that be an email, creating an SMS, a PDF letter, or an internal task to yourself that can trigger X amount of days, hours, or months after the quote date, before the quote expires, or after the quote expires. So some follow-up options there to help automate your process and trigger your customer to engage with you in relation to the quote. The content works in the same way that we've seen other content populate automatically in Formitize. So if you're using an email template, it will automatically go to the contact of the quote. You can choose this to be your own information if you're looking to send yourself as an email reminder. The email subject, again, can use placeholder information to be able to populate with different content that would be relevant. And then you have your text options, so you can write the body of the email and use those placeholder options. Again, just make sure you save on each of the updates that you make, and as well saving from the above settings that you had already created. Integrating your Formitize account with your accounting software is really easy. We do have a two-way integration with both Xero and QuickBooks. To be able to integrate that to your account, just simply select the settings cog in the top right-hand corner of the management portal. Go to integrate, and then down to accounting software. Here you'll see the option to be able to choose your accounting package, which will then redirect you to the accounting package platform to be able to log on and integrate the account. As part of your account, you can have multiple users and user groups created within the portal to help manage the people who need to access your account. So anyone who needs to complete a job, fill in forms, access reporting, make invoices, book jobs, needs to be a user on your account. So anyone who needs to be able to log on to the account needs to have their own user profile. Further to a user profile, you can determine the permissions and accessibility of that person's login through the user groups. So in your users tab, there are some groups that have already been created for you to help with this process. So we have general pest technicians, timber pest technicians, administration, and your default main group. So general pest technicians will have specific forms that they can see that potentially are only applicable to people that can do general pest work. There may be people within your business that don't do any timber pest work, for example, because they're not qualified. So being a general pest technician only will ensure that they're not booked on termite jobs or timber pest jobs, for example, and as well not seeing those forms that are not applicable to them. So it makes it nice and easy to be able to manage users. People can be part of more than one group. So if they do both general pest and timber work, they can be in both groups to make it nice and easy to ensure they've got visibility of exactly what they need to have. Adding a customer into the CRM is really easy. So this can be done through importing, creating a customer straight into the CRM, and also when you are creating a job, you can create new customers at that same time. So we'll look at creating a customer through the CRM directly. So from the home dashboard, you can click on contacts, or you can go through the CRM and click on contacts there. In the contacts page, you'll see all of the customers that have already been created on your account. And on the right hand side, we've got the new contact button. Creating a customer is easy. So using the billing name, if it is a business, for example, if it's Mr. and Mrs., for example, in a residential scenario, their names will create as the billing name. So we'll just do a test example here. You can add in their contact information, including email addresses, your contact type. So in most instances, it's going to be a customer. The tags that you add here will be available the next time you create a customer. So that may be for suppliers, for example. The status of the customer by default will be active. You can make customers inactive if needed throughout the account. The billing terms by default are set to the billing terms that you've set on your account settings. This can be changed for individual customers as well. The source of the contacts, so this has been created through the CRM, but if you were to do an import, for example, or if you wanted to capture that their source of this customer was through Google, a referral, for example, then you can also do those tags. Your billing address will populate as the main billing address against the customer, but there is the option to have additional locations. So their billing address may be different to the locations that you service, or they may have more than one location as well. So I'm just going to quickly create a customer. When we go down, we do have the notes field available. So this refers to notes about the billing customer as a whole. We do also have the location note and also job notes. Saving the customer will bring you to the customer card. So you will have all of the details about that customer available to you here. People and locations allow you to add more than one person associated to the billing name, as well as more than one location. So they both work in the same way. So if we look at locations, for example, you're able to click on the drop down and then add a new location. Your Formitize Pest Industry account has already been loaded with 19 of our specialist forms available to you. These come under our Pest Specialist license that has an annual fee of just $245 a year and includes access to all of the forms that have been approved by various insurers in the industry. The forms are designed to be compliant as well as easy to use, so for your technicians out in the field and also for your customer to be able to read. These forms can be edited. Just make sure that any changes that you make don't affect the integrity of the form as far as the regulations and standards that they need to meet. If you're unsure, make sure that you check with your insurer. The forms dashboard will allow you access to the form templates, so you can have a look at those templates and make any changes that you like. So if you click on to existing templates, you'll be able to edit the forms that you have available. So here are all of the forms. We can filter down the search to be able to have a look at the general pest service report, for example. I'll show you here as well on the details page, we've spoken about group permissions. So this is where we control the types of user groups that are able to view and start the form, as well as who's able to edit the form. More details on the form builder and its functionality is available in other YouTube videos on the form builder, but specifically I wanted you to see how to make simple changes such as adding new photo fields and also updating chemical lists, which seems to be the most popular changes that have been made to these forms. So if we click onto form builder, you'll be taken to the form template where you can make these changes. So you'll see down on the left hand side is all of the different entry fields that are available. Through the middle here we have the content, and if we were to select one of the fields in the form, we will then have the field settings for that particular form. So there's lots of functionality here. You can right click to delete any fields that you don't want to use. You can also bring in extra fields. So if you wanted to, for example, add in another question, quite simply drag in a text box and write in what you want that question to be over on the right. Further down in this form, I wanted to show you about the chemical selection, so you can choose the active products that you're using. So this list is available to be edited. So if you didn't want to have some of these chemicals because you don't use them, for example, just simply hover over it and you'll see the delete functionality and you can remove that particular entry. If you wanted to add other chemicals that are not listed here, you can just add the item in here. So for example, and then click on add. This will be available once you save and deploy the form the next time you use that particular form. So just make sure as you're making the changes, when you're ready for that to be live, just make sure that you deploy. You can add photo fields into any section of the form that you like. You can add in as many photo fields as well. So anywhere that you'd like to add in a photo field, just click on the advanced option in the toolbox, and then you've got the camera field. So simply drag that into the form wherever you want that to happen. That one field for the camera option will allow you to take multiple photos. So you can change the question to indicate what they need to take the photo of, for example, and you can also add default tags. So using the object names within the fields in the form, so every field has an object name, so you can use those in square brackets with a comma separating them to be able to indicate specific information, for example. Once that's done, you can save the form again and deploy if that's all the changes that you need to make, and it's ready to use. Job type templates are a really easy way to be able to communicate with your clients, have preset forms and invoices applicable automatically attached when you create a job. So we have created a series for you that have been indicated to us by our fellow pest controllers to be of benefit. They're all customizable, so you can make any changes to the communication that's triggered and the timeframes that it's been triggered on. So we'll have a look and see what a job type can look like, to show you how you can make changes and how they suit in different circumstances. So job type templates, you then have all of the different templates. So there's about 15 here that you can choose from. You can make changes to them, you can create more, that's totally up to you. So if we were to look at a residential pest management, for example, you'll see in the job details, this information is going to populate on the job when you book it. So this is the job type with the title. So the title is going to populate on your job. The description will populate into the job notes. Again, you can edit this. We're talking about a job type, which is for every time you do this type of job. So we're not talking about a specific customer's type. This is for every time you do residential pest management. This is the flow that you want to happen as far as communication and the forms that are attached. The schedule color is this color in the top right hand corner when you're looking at the jobs from a diary perspective, so that you can see at a glance quite easily that you've got a specific type of jobs for that week or that day. Duration of the job. So typically when you do this type of job, it would take you 2 hours, but when you book a job, you may book it for a lesser amount of time or a greater amount of time. That's totally up to you. It's just a guide. The job form that's attached, so this is one of our specialist pest forms that's automatically attached to the job for you. So that service report, every time you book this type of job, the form will automatically be there. So from a job booking perspective, you don't have to think about the forms that are applicable. This particular job doesn't have any specific safety first forms attached, but again, you can add any form templates that you wish. The safety first form being attached to the job will allow you to set a rule that that form has to be completed before the job form can be accessed. Again, this is your own business preference. The groups that are allowed, so the user groups who are able to do these types of jobs, you can select those here. The job status updates and future reminders are quite similar in what they do. They're just triggered by different stages or timeframes surrounding the job. So you can have multiple updates sent at different stages, again using the different communication types that we have available: email, SMS, PDF letter, or an internal task. This update has been created for you automatically, so that when the job is created, an email is going to be sent to the contact. Now you can choose to turn off any of these communications, so just make it disabled or enabled. That's totally up to you. The communication can also be edited. So if we have a look at the communication here, you'll see that the subject line is populating free text, as well as placeholder information, which is that job detail that's going to populate when you book the job. So for example, if we're saying that we're booking a job for 3 Rodeo Road, Gregory Hills, when the email goes out to the customer, it will say residential pest management, 3 Rodeo Road, Gregory Hills. Hi, and then we've got the contact name. So hi James, thank you for booking a residential pest management job with your business name. So it's going to populate your own company information. Our technician will arrive at your property, again stating the address, the time and the date. Now, if you don't know at the point of booking the job if it is going to be that specific time that you've initially indicated to the customer, you can just remove the reference to the time on this communication. So you can just take that out and then further add any more information that you wanted to add or make any other changes. Again, using the placeholders to populate information that's coming from your company details. Any changes that you make, just make sure that you save before going on to the next, which is future reminders. So in your future reminders for residential pest management, you'll see that there are 3 different actions that are going to happen when you're using this particular job type. So what is happening in this particular instance, first off, we have an email that is going to be sent 2 days before the job is due. So if we think about when we're creating a job, potentially they may be weeks in advance. So sending a customer an email a couple of days before is a good reminder for them, as well as being able to indicate to the customer any items that they need to be aware of or prepare for your particular visit. The next communication is the 11 months after the job is completed. So quite often when you're doing residential pest management, it is encouraged that you would do a revisit 12 months later. So the way to be able to communicate with the customer is to trigger communication to go to them after the job is completed. So future reminders allow you to trigger communication to happen X amount of days, hours and months before the job or after it's been completed. So we had the reminder just before of 2 days before the job is due. Now we're talking about what happens after the job is completed. So again, using that placeholder and free text information to be able to build your content for it to trigger automatically. Now with the communication of sending an email to a customer 11 months after the job is completed, they could give you a call and make a booking or access your website if you're using like a contact us form that's available through your account as well using web forms. So we've created then that extra safety net of a task to yourself. So the task to your admin team that are accessing the portal, and this is triggering 12 months after the job is completed, is there as a reminder for you to go back and have a look. You'll see the details of what the job was originally, for you to be able to look at the CRM and see that that customer may have already rebooked with you, so you can close off this task as being complete. And if it hasn't been booked, it's giving you the opportunity to give the customer a call. So you may give the customer a call and they say, look, I'm really busy at the moment, can you call me tomorrow? No worries, you just reassign that task to yourself again for tomorrow. If you give the customer a call and they say, I'm not quite ready, can you give me a call in 2 months time? Same applies. You can just reassign that task for another day. And you can make sure that you're following up with those customers that haven't rebooked unless they indicate otherwise, and then you would just close off the task. So that's the job type reminders and communication. You can add more reminders and more communication to these. They don't have to be created in the order that they're going to happen. So you can create any that will fit in between these ones that we have here, or you can change what's there. The line item element within the job type varies from business to business on how you would like that to work. Some clients would, for residential pest management, for example, add in the line item of residential pest management with a 0 value for the unit amount, and either the person who's booking the job or the technician out on the field can update this at any time. This is totally up to you. It's just a way for the invoice to be generated automatically for you. But if that doesn't suit the process of your business, then most definitely you don't have to use this functionality. The recurring function when it comes to a job type quite often would be more so in different industries that it would be relevant. I found mostly in pest control that it's more so the individual job that you're booking that would be of a recurring nature. And the reason why we say that, and a prime example would be if you're thinking about a commercial pest management, and everyone does this differently, but you may go to the bakery and do commercial pest management every fortnight, and you may go to the restaurant and you attend there every month. So when you're talking about the job type and the communication that happens, for each of those, the communication is going to be the same and the form's going to be the same. But because the recurring profile is going to be different, you would just have your job type recurring profile not to have a recurrence. And when you book a job, you can set the recurring profile for that specific job, for that client and that location. Makes it much easier to manage when you don't have multiple job types, and then when you're trying to book a job, you're trying to choose which is the right job type for this particular work. So on each of the job types that we have created for you, there are different communications because there are different workflows. Most definitely, as I've mentioned already, you can edit those, and if you need further assistance from our professional services team, we do have training options available to talk about your specific needs. Our resources and document management functionality allows you to have documents such as policies and procedures, SDSs, insurances, any records that you want to hold in your account to be able to have available to your technicians out in the field can all be held in your resources to make sure you keep them up to date. So in the resources tab, you can have multiple folders and subfolders as well as all of the documents within them. So you'll see that a lot of resources have already been uploaded for you with various folders available to help streamline being able to find the specific document that you're after. A majority of the documents do have an expiry date assigned to them, and you will be notified as an admin user when those documents are due to expire, expired, and overdue. So on each of the documents, the concept is for you to have a look at that PDF, have a look back to where that document originated from, and check in to make sure that it is still up to date. If there's been any changes, then you would upload the new version. If there's no changes, then just set yourself a new expiry date to go back and check in on that later. Some of these documents may not be relevant to your individual business. So again, you can select them on the far right hand side checkbox and then use the action tab to delete it and then press go. You can add more resources and documents into your account as well. There's no limit on how much you can hold in there. You can also control through the user groups who is able to view different types of documents in different folders. The final step to have your account up and running is to activate your account. We have thousands of pest controllers already using the Formitize solution every day, and we'd love for you to be part of this. To activate your account, simply select the settings cog in the top right-hand corner. Over on company profile, you have your payment details. We accept PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard payments from a month-to-month perspective. Once your account is activated, your license fee of $245 annually will also be processed so that you've got continued access to the solution as well as all of the forms. If you need some further help with your account and wanted to engage in some further training, we do have lots of options available. So there's self-help through the help menu. You can access the user guide and getting started guide, as well as our YouTube channel that has various videos that are available to you, or you can engage our professional services team that can offer training specific for your business and answer your specific questions about your business processes. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help.